Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my stream. Today's stream is about coincidences. I've been keeping track of things that I see as coincidences. I made a notepad in my computer of all the times I've noticed a coincidence. For example, I'll be watching a playlist I curated on my laptop. I was watching one where there was a Battlestar Galactica, then a Penn and Teller BS, and the latter just happened to mention actor Edward James Olmos. So basically, I'm watching Battlestar Galactica, and the very next show, Penn and Teller BS, mentioned the actor in the previous show, which I just curated randomly on my laptop. So these coincidences are from 9/2024 and onward. So while before that, I had Alias in my playlist, and I was playing a game on my phone, a word puzzle. The clue for the word puzzle was on fire. And almost exactly at the very moment that I found the word Phoenix in the puzzle, they said the word Phoenix in the Alias episode I was playing on my laptop. And then another time I was watching Andromeda, and the character in Andromeda said something about a dreaded bouncing ball attack. Not very long before that, in my playlist was a Warehouse 13 episode where bouncing balls attacked. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or a stolen idea, but either way, it was just very strange to me. Later, I was watching an episode of a show called Extraordinary. A character's name was Cash. Then, about a month later, I heard about a guy, a real person in my area named Cash Crooks. That was his name, Cash Crooks. Another time, I'm watching in my playlist an episode called Man with a Plan. And later, I was watching a show called Customer Wars, and the voiceover man literally said the words, "The man has a plan." Later, I was watching in my playlist at The Big Bang Theory. Amy says that Sheldon gave her the feels. The next show I was watching was In the Challenge, and one of the competitors says the feels about a boy she likes in the series. Another Man with a Plan episode has the main family character's last name as Burns, and I was watching that. And then the next thing I was watching was Bicentennial Man, in which one of the characters is going into a building called the Rupert Burns Enterprises building. So also in my playlist, I was watching The Traders UK, and there was an Ivan on that series. And at the same time, I had a chat on YouTube where it showed that the Vulcan rocket launches the first time, and there was an Ivan mentioned in that video at almost the same moment as the person in The Traders was standing up and saying his name. I was watching Night Court, the 2023 version, where the gal from The Big Bang, the blonde gal that married Howard, and in The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon loves flags. And in the playlist, The Great North was talking about flags. That's not really as much of a coincidence as more of a 6 degrees from a coincidence thing, I think. Now, listen, you guys, feel free to make any comments you want just about these coincidences, whether you think they are actually coincidences or if I'm just seeing things that because I'm OCD about coincidences. But also feel free to tell me any coincidences that you've noticed that you find odd coincidences. like a little too much to be a coincidence, kind of. Because I do believe in coincidences, don't get me wrong. But I also think that there's a certain amount of coincidence where it's going beyond being a coincidence. Now, like when I watch TV shows, I'll notice that many times the characters' outfits are almost exactly the same color match as some piece of furniture in the room they're showing in, or the wall paint or something. And I always wondered if that was by design. So, like someone wearing a blue shirt would sit down on a couch that's blue, almost exactly the same color as blue, or stand up and there'd be a wall behind them that was almost exactly the same color as their pants or their shirt. And sometimes it's exactly the same and not just almost exactly the same. But anyway, I digress. So here are some more coincidences. In my playlist, I was watching a TV series called Bull, which has a character named Mr. Weeks, which is the same name as my high school science teacher. And maybe that's not so much of a coincidence, but I just thought that was weird. And then there is, in my playlist, I happened to be watching an episode of a sitcom called Till Death, in which they reference the song Celebrate by Kool and the Gang. And then I was watching Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway, where they sang that song at the end of the series. In my playlist, I was watching the Enterprise episode about First Contact on April 5th, In a Mirror Darkly Part 1. And I didn't do it on purpose, but it just happened that I was watching it on the same date, April 5th, as in the episode showing what day First Contact was on. I literally did not schedule it that way on purpose. It just happened because I schedule my playlist long in advance. Like I'll go ahead and set up a whole week's worth in my playlist without really paying attention to when I'm going to be able to see that, because I don't know when I'll have to get up and walk away from my laptop. So I couldn't have timed that on purpose unless I really meant to, which I didn't. Anyway, next, I was watching a Doctor Who season 12 episode, and at the very end, the doctor says, no, 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 no. And next in the playlist, I had The Office, which opens with Ryan pacing, saying, no, 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 no. Another one was I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and in that show, Chuck, in both shows, they used the name Quinn in the final seasons for characters. I guess that's not really a coincidence, but, you know, just saying. It's weird that it showed up in my playlist in that order because the two series were made at different times. So I just put them in my playlist together by accident, and both happened to use the same name in both series in my playlist. So watching more How I Met Your Mother, having people take a train in that, and then playing Word Seeker at the same time, and the clue was train. Take a train, rather. That's a coincidence. See, in my playlist, I'm watching something, and in my hands, I'm playing a puzzle, and the same words are showing up as key. I don't know, it's very weird. So I was watching A Dark Angel, and an actress played Duwala in Battlestar Galactica. Also, her boyfriend Billy on Battlestar Galactica, and so the actress was in this Dark Angel episode, and she was blind, and she had a seeing eye dog named Billy. So that basically the name Billy from Battlestar Galactica, which was made years after Dark Angel, was used for the same actress's boyfriend as it was when she played in Dark Angel and had a dog named Billy. I don't know, maybe they asked her, what's a name you can remember? And she just said Billy. Who knows? It's just so funny. These coincidences are so weird to me to read back on, too. If you do keep a notepad of your coincidences, let me know in the comments. So watching Falling Skies, that show Falling Skies, and an actor says the words shut down. The words also pop up on my phone game. Exactly the same words at the same second. So then I guess I missed a few months of keeping track, a couple of months. And then I decided to go ahead and keep track again because I was watching Saturday Night Live with Martin Short and Tom Hanks and Tina Fey. And I had just finished an episode of The X's from years before, and both had secret handshakes in them. So then I was watching Silo season 2, and a screen message reads from an R. Amundsen, not a common last name to be used, and it happens that I know someone with that last name, Amundsen. How very weird. So I ended up skipping a long time. And it wasn't until last month I picked up this again. That doesn't mean I didn't notice any coincidences during that time, but I just was very busy and didn't have time to stop and go to my computer and open Notepad and make the note. So it's now picking up at 10:20:25. I was listening to a song called I Can't Decide by the Scissor Sisters. And I go to YouTube a few hours later and, oh, okay, I wasn't listening to the song. I guess I decided I was going to talk to my son about the song to try to help him get rid of his earworm. So I hadn't actually gone and opened the song on YouTube or anything. And I hadn't, looked it up on my phone or anything like that. But I did outwardly verbalize it. This might not be so much of a coincidence as more of a case of your phone can hear what you're saying thing. But anyway, I mentioned it to my son. I may have had a phone in the room. I don't know. But then a little bit later, I went to YouTube and there was a live YouTube of the Doctor Who channel about musical elements in Doctor Who. About a month later, I was watching the Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. And that was just a few days ago here, I guess. And Puzzle Answer had James Bond in it. A few seconds later, I went to look at Twitter and saw a notification from a friend of mine about watching a movie from the James Bond series. So that's my current list of kawinkydinks, as I call them, or coincidences that may or may not be coincidences, and they may or may not be something more or less. But I do pay attention to coincidences, and if you do as well, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. You have a great day or night.